Okay, so it's, on my clock, it's 1 o'clock, and we have a very full session today. I'm so excited to see such a full room. My name's Megan Hunt, and I am an assistant professor of emergency medicine and also the medical director at Wake Forest University School of Medicine, the adult ED. So thanks for being here. We want to say welcome to Claim Your Seat. Please, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and scan the QR code. Our only disclosure, and this is why we have a QR code, is our very own Tari Rahman helped us with getting funding for, she won the 2024 AOM Research Funding Award, something to consider as a leader in your field, to be able for us to study how a session like this helps impact all of you all and to provide programming and other things that can help support leadership. So thanks for your participation there. Aside from that, oh, and they've used my old version, we just have that funding award. We have no other disclosures to share. Also, I'd like to take a minute to thank the Admin and ClinOps Committee from SAEM, as well as the Academy for Diversity and Inclusion in Emergency Medicine, the ADIM Ops Committee, as well as AWEM for their support of this didactic. This session represents what can happen when women leaders like myself and my co-collaborators come together to combine our unique talents to accomplish more. And we're hoping that this will inspire those of you in the group to do the same thing. Our goal today is for each of you to leave this session naming the unique strengths that you can bring to any leadership position and how you can leverage those to get more out of those opportunities. If you're a leader and you're here, we want you to mentor and sponsor more residents, medical students, fellows, and faculty to do exactly the same thing. Let them know if you see something in them that they don't yet view as a strength. We're here today to identify those things for ourselves and for each other. There's no one right way to do anything, and that includes leadership. Even if you haven't yet encountered a leader who looks like you or leverages the same talents that you'll one day use to find your way on your leadership journey, we still encourage you to keep considering how you will be a leader in this field. Just showing up here today indicates that you have the potential to do so. And if you leave this didactic, naming or even considering how you already possess unique talent that needs to be leveraged as a strength to make you a more authentic and powerful leader, then we've accomplished our mission. So thanks for being here. All right. So today we're going to jump in with some introductions. I'll introduce you to your moderators. We're going to do this panel with 3 of our women leaders from emergency medicine who have joined us today, break up into small groups to do some casework, and then do a large group sharing at the end. So we got a lot of road to cover. I've already introduced myself, and I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge my collaborators. We have Laura Walker. Laura is Vice Chair of Digital Emergency Medicine and an Associate Professor at Mayo Clinic. Tareem, who is Assistant Medical Director at Mount Sinai, as well as Anna Fang, our resident member at Boston Medical Center, and Sarah Wendell, who is now the Medical Director at University of Virginia in Charlottesville. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Scofie was unable to join us today, but I will give our panelists the opportunity to introduce themselves here shortly. Thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So ladies, if you can please just introduce yourself and share your current leadership roles. It looks like they may have loaded my last version of this, so I'm going to be clicking while you talk for a second to get up my QR codes.
So good afternoon. My name is Laura Nentwick. I am the Vice Chair for Clinical Affairs at Mass General Hospital. I'm just going to be upfront and say this is a little intimidating for me because there are a lot of my own personal women leaders out here in the audience. So everything I have to say I've learned from them, and also my rising star future women leaders right up here front. So anyways, it's nice to be here and nice to see all of you, and thanks for coming.
Good afternoon. I am Kelly Bookman, and I am the Vice Chair of Clinical Operations at University of Colorado Hospital. I'm also the Senior Medical Director for the UC Health ED service line. Everybody, I didn't stack the audience like you did, but I do see a few familiar faces out there who I've learned a lot from and have been really happy and lucky to have as part of my team.
Hello, everyone. I'm also very honored to be here today in front of so many people that I know, lots of familiar faces. My name is Marie Carmel Ellie. I'm the chair at the University of Alabama at Birmingham, and I'm a full professor and tenured, and an endowed professor as well.
Thank you. All right, now that we know who we have up front, we're going to learn a little bit more. So if you all could please share, what would your colleagues say is your biggest leadership strength?
So I think I have done a lot of 360s in my life, which are super helpful. But the feedback is pretty much the same. And so my biggest leadership strength is my ability to work with all role groups and everyone and sort of respect each other and work together as a team, and honestly, to identify those people who are really great. And so I've been very fortunate in my leadership to just continuously be surrounded by amazing people who help push things along. And so I would say that's probably my other big strength, I will say, is that I'm not as good at this, but I really try really hard every day to remember that even though I might be super angry at medicine, we're all doing the best we can. We're trying our hardest, and this sucks for everybody.
So I think I've also done a number of 360s, which can be a very painful experience and humbling as well. I think for me, I probably have two that I want to share. I think the first one is that people trust that I will never ask them to do something that I wouldn't do. And so they understand that I understand exactly what I'm asking them to do. And then second, my true belief is that all boats rise, so I try to foster everybody working together and making sure that everybody gets credit for the work that they're doing, because to the extent that everybody that I'm working with and partnering with does well and gets acknowledged for that, we all are lifted up.
So if I had to think of strengths, I think one that people would point out is I am a major cheerleader. And I want to make sure that people have their strengths promoted. And one of the things that I'm constantly doing is asking people what their passions are and helping them to find that. Another strength that I think that I have, I'm originally from New York, is I can be very direct. But there is a directness, but I think that most people would say that I can do it with kindness and respect as well.
Thank you. I think we all would feel very lucky to have these as leadership talents, and I think this is a major, as you're sitting there thinking about some of the things that we just heard, how often do you think about how you being really good at bringing people together is your major leadership strength? How often is it that you think about the fact that you hold in your heart that all boats rise together, and that being a thing that is a leadership strength? I don't think those things are called out traditionally in a lot of leadership courses, and I think we have a lot to learn from folks who might not be in all of those all the time. We have some professionals here today who've already been about leadership in a variety of roles. So I did ask them, I did give them questions before they came today. And so this feels like the money question right now, which is, what is one piece of leadership advice that you would give to your earlier self? And as a non-traditional medical student, learner, etc., I was very clear, not my younger self, my earlier self. So we can all learn at any point on the spectrum, y'all. We're all learning all the time. So
I think that's good, because I think I have gotten bad advice, which I realize now I wish I had not followed. So I think one of the biggest things, obviously, I was told early on, just say yes to everything. People like to see you as eager. And I realized that, I really do not think that is good advice. I think to act with intention is much, much better, and you do better things. And so I've really learned how to say no to things, including things I've said yes to, which is you always look much worse when you say you'll do something and then you come back and you're like, I just can't do it. So have intention with what you do, and every yes is a no to something else, is I think. And then the other thing, I just wanted to pick up on one of your strengths, which is not one of my strengths. I was always told to be nice and kind and make feedback sort of soft, and one of my mentors now has recently taught me, you just got to be direct, because it just hurts more. He's like, I kind of think of it like when you're giving feedback to someone, you want to have respect, absolutely, but he's like, I kind of think of it like telling a family member that their loved one has died. You just have to put it out there, get it out there so you're clear and they know what you're saying, because otherwise you're not actually helping them become better and you're not giving them the information they need. So I love that about you, and I would love to learn how you do it.
Some of us have been taught not to be direct and to be more quiet, depending on how old you are. That is something that you've probably heard more or less, depending on what generation you're in. So I'm also direct, but I've also had to learn how to tone it down just a little bit. But what I would tell my earlier self is, for every time that you fail at something, that is the time that you can learn from the most. And as I look back and try to tell the story of how I got to where I am, it's predicated on probably 3 big failures. And at the time, each one, I thought, that's it. I'm going to have to go be a park ranger now. That's it. I'm going to have to, quit this and completely veer a different way. But as I looked to each thing, which was really hard and full of tears and full of self-reflection, those were the things that steered me exactly where I am today and got me here. I didn't know that at the time, but that's what I would tell myself.
So I'm going to say that we have a lot in common. So first of all, I've taken many 360s over the course of my career, but I can tell you for a fact that I have failed often, of course, along my career, and I think the failures are really what help us to pivot and learn. If advice that I would give my earlier self is have some imagination. I think that in life we are presented with obstacles, and most of those obstacles are placed there by ourselves. We put them there. Not recognizing that if we are just willing to have a little bit of a creativity, imagination, and willing to trust that there's an environment around you that's going to want to support you, that you may actually find precisely what it is that you're looking for. So don't allow your presumptions of what is around you to limit yourself from seeking something out that you perhaps might think is out of sight or out of reach. Have some imagination. Yeah, that's what I would tell my earlier self.
Thank you, guys. So I think one of the things, if you came here today and you've been through something like maybe your abstract or didactic wasn't accepted to SAEM this year, or maybe that project that you're doing, people just aren't signing up to do the thing that you've asked them to do. If there's something like that going on for you, okay, I think what we've heard is those failures are going to teach us a lot. And what we're going to do now, we have such a full room that I have a full heart. We're going to divide into 3 groups, okay? If you find yourself in a group with no trainees, ask yourself, where's my trainee? Let's see if we can gather into 3 groups. We're going to have our moderators. Moderators, if you will please stand for us so everybody can recognize. And so we're going to divide up, and then as you guys form a group, one of these incredible leaders for us to learn from is also going to be with you. We have our case that we're going to be working on together. You can access it via the QR code here. It's going to pop up like a little square that says PDF. Just click on the square again, and you'll be right where you need to be, I promise. If not, then I'm real mad at QR Creator, the website. And we're going to work on that case for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm going to do a time check. I'll give you when we have a couple minutes. When we come back together, we're going to talk about what we've learned. Not share your solution to the case, but talk about what we've learned, and I'll be more direct when we come back together, okay? So I look forward to hearing what you all learned together. So if we can just migrate into 3 groups, my moderators will take over.
I like being a ranger in Colorado.
So I want to thank everybody for these great discussions. If you can just kind of wrap up, and we're going to turn around to do some large group sharing, that would be great. So I really want to thank everybody for the great discussion. I'm so pleased to have heard so many different voices and male voices. Because this is not everybody can learn from women leaders, y'all. Everybody. So as we all come together, we could do the thing that we do at a lot of times when we do like a small group case, which is everybody share their solution. But we know there's all kinds of right solutions. So good for you. We've come up with solutions. But what I'd really like to do, one of the reasons we brought you here is to make sure that everyone here recognizes and thinks that today, as you stand right now, you already are filled with the potential to be a leader and to take our field forward, okay? So if you, during these sessions today, what I'd challenge each group to do is at least one person, good idea, at least one person to share for the group and share one of the individual traits or characteristics that you all called out that you see as being something that's interesting or surprising or unique that you think you bring to leadership. And since Sarah has the mic, Sarah's group shall go first.
Anybody? All right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Just say hi.
Anybody want to share? You want to share about the Strengths Finder? Yeah.
Hi, Cheryl from Emory, and we were talking. Oh, stop. Love y'all. I was talking about the Clifton Strengths Finder. If I see some nods, and I got some, never heard of it, and I used it with my executive committee. I'm vice chair in our department, and used it as a tool to really have people look at what their strengths are. You know, you have Myers-Briggs, all these other DICE, DISC, whatever you want to use, but this particular one is I got actually from Kristen Rounds. She used to be up at Brown. And it really brings out what your strengths are. It's pretty elaborate. You can look it up. It's called Clifton Strengths Finder. There's 4 different areas you land in. And it affirms what you're good at, because we tend to spend most of our time what we're not good at, which is really exhausting, painful, and doesn't fill your tank. But if you spend more of your time on what you're good at, and the other 10%, you kind of just know it's over there, you can find the strength within and with your team, because I did it with my executive committee, and it then engenders some affirmation and reaffirmation on how to move forward as a team and as an individual. So I found it very useful and affirming, like I'm a believer, I'm a relationship builder. I was like, yeah. And then, you know, people know that in you, and it's validated, so thanks. What is that called?
The Clifton Strengths Finder.
What your blind spots are based on your strengths. So like you can like, I don't know, like I'm a super emotive, empathic person. And it was like, oh, that's really great. But then it was like, but here are your blind spots and things that you should be cognizant of as a person who's very strong in these particular areas, which I thought was really great. So.
Does anybody? Nice. I agree. Does anybody else want to share one of what they've, maybe in the course of your case today, it came to you? Does anybody else have one of their superpowers that they'd like to share with us for leadership?
We didn't really talk about this question very much. We kind of get derailed on something else. But one of the things that I guess I personally think is a strength that I have is when somebody comes to me with a problem and potentially a solution that I just don't think is going to work. For one reason or another, I always try to take a piece of it and craft it into at least something small that can be taken to the rest of the group. So at least that person still feels like their opinion was valued and was valuable, and they feel heard. So
That's great. I think that's a great one. How about from the back of the room, back in Laura's corner of the world? Anybody back there want to share?
I know. I'm really impressed, guys.
Good leaders often have to be good followers sometimes too. So there you go. I'll take it.
I was saying I could share as a younger perspective. I'm a current M4 student, so I don't have a lot of leadership in medical education, but I had prior leadership before med school. I think one of my strengths in my leadership is being very honest about where I struggle and where my failures have been, especially in the world of medicine, but really in any sectors. We're always our own worst critic. We always feel very isolated in our failures and where we mess up, and we don't always want to advertise those to other people. And so we tend to get in this vicious cycle of isolation of it, thinking we're the only one that's ever been there. And so I'm very honest and open with the people that I lead, so that hopefully, whether they want to embrace it and admit it to me themselves, just so that they know that somebody else out there has been through it, and it feels just a little less isolating, so they feel like they have some comfort in that.
Thank you for sharing. So I will share that I do know this Clifton Strengths Finder. I actually have a superpower called Woo. I have the power to get you all together and like get us talking and laughing and stuff. And I never really saw that as a superpower. I just thought that made me fun. Cool fact. Cool fact. But also, this is where change starts to happen. And so I think the other part is you find your partner. Like I get lucky and have like Dr. Hammond over there, my assistant medical director, that the way we get things done is that we have different strengths and we leverage those for ourselves. And then also I heard a lot of discussion about collaboration, partnering, relationship building, how to use all of that to figure out we can do so much more together than we can apart. And so I'm hoping today that everyone saw people in their group or in this room that perhaps they'd like to know more about, work with on something. Everybody in here, if you're at an academic emergency medicine meeting, everybody in here needs to put something else together and put it out so that they can put it on their CV, right? So what I would love is if we could take some of that with us away from here, not just from this room today. Now, does anybody else have a particular superpower that they think others might not be aware of that they'd like to share today? I think it just starts in considering that something you never thought, that you just thought, well, everybody can do that. Anybody could stand up here and make a joke in the front of the room, like, right? But like, what of that is in there inside you or inside those that you lead that you can bring out of them and use to be able to move our field forward, because that's what we need. Yes, ma'am.
I am slowly coming into superpower of safety for others, and I didn't really appreciate it because the feedback I kept getting was doing very well, very good with patient care. That was always my strength. But I've seen that transition to leadership within our residents who may feel uncomfortable coming to higher ups for various issues, not that I can solve much, but are feeling safe in me to confide in, the things that they're troubled by, and then pinpointing them to people who I have deemed as safe, kind of people to direct towards who like our stakeholders and our leaders, who can better help them. But sometimes it's hard knowing that path forward because we do silo ourselves. We do very much feel like we are the only ones who highlights our own failures. So that's just something that I'm saying.
Well, I'd like to celebrate that and say that thank you for speaking up and sharing that with this group. We need people making everybody feel safe so that we can all come forward and grow together. So thank you so much for being brave and sharing that too. Well, guys, let me just look at my clock here. We are at 1:50. How the time has flown. Thank you all for being here. I want to particularly thank again my fellow moderators and panelists and all of you for taking a sunny Arizona afternoon to come indoors with no windows to join me here. If anybody enjoyed this, would like to see future stuff about it, would like to connect for a second, I'm going to be up here with my little electronic business card for a minute, and we'd love to have you come and connect in the future. So thanks, everybody. I'll put it up. Thank you, Laura, for keeping me on task. Last thing, final request. Please do your final survey so that we can do the study things that Tareem got the money for. Please. Thank you.